Courage over comfort is the choice that separates those who stay still from those who step forward, because comfort lures us into the illusion of safety while courage pushes us into the unknown where growth actually lives. And although it feels easier to wait, to plan, to imagine what might happen, if circumstances were different, nothing changes until we dare to act, even when our hands shake and our hearts race. Choosing courage means acknowledging that fear and doubt will walk alongside us, but refusing to let them hold the pen that writes our story, because when we move despite the trembling, we begin to uncover strengths we never knew existed. Comfort whispers that we can protect ourselves from failure, rejection, or embarrassment if we just hold back a little longer, but in truth, the longer we stay sheltered, the more we trade our potential for a fragile illusion of security. Growth is not born in familiar patterns. It is carved in the places that feel raw, uncertain, and uncomfortable, and stepping into those spaces is the act of trusting that we can figure things out along the way. Courage does not guarantee victory, but it guarantees movement, and in movement we learn, we stumble, we rise, and we expand into the people we are meant to become. Every breakthrough, every transformation, every story of resilience is proof that someone chose courage over comfort, that someone walked into discomfort and found a version of themselves that could only be discovered on the other side of risk. Comfort may feel good in the moment, but it carries the quiet weight of stagnation, while courage feels heavy at first but becomes lighter with every step taken, because it opens the doors to possibility. When we look back, the moments that shape us are rarely the ones where we felt safe. They are the ones where we felt exposed yet moved anyway. The ones where we did not wait for fear to disappear, but decided that fear could ride along as we pressed forward. Choosing courage is not about the absence of fear, but about valuing growth more than comfort, and realizing that the discomfort of action is temporary, while the pain of regret lasts much longer. It is in those moments of choice, when staying still feels tempting but stepping forward feels necessary, that we define our lives, and every time we pick courage, we tell ourselves that we are worthy of the risk, worthy of the chance, worthy of the life waiting beyond what feels comfortable. Imperfect action beats perfect intention because the world does not change by what we think about doing. It changes by what we dare to begin, and yet so many of us get caught in the trap of waiting until the conditions are ideal, until we feel completely ready, until every detail is polished, not realizing that in the pursuit of perfection, we lose the very opportunities that could shape us. Growth does not come from standing still and planning endlessly. It comes from stepping into the unknown, fumbling through uncertainty, and allowing mistakes to be the teachers that refine our path. When we act imperfectly, we create momentum, and momentum has a way of opening doors that hesitation can never unlock, because action generates clarity while intention alone keeps us circling the same thoughts. The truth is, no matter how perfect our vision might be in our minds, it is only through trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again that we discover what works, what matters, and what leads us closer to our goals. Perfection is a moving target that keeps us stuck, whispering that if we just wait a little longer, we'll get it exactly right. But life does not reward waiting. It rewards doing, experimenting, and daring to look imperfect while we learn. Every small, messy step carries within it the possibility of transformation, because even if the step is clumsy, it places us further along the road than standing at the start line ever could. The courage to act imperfectly is what builds resilience, because each mistake becomes less of a wound and more of a lesson, teaching us to adapt, to innovate, and to keep moving forward. Intention without action leaves us in the realm of dreams, but even the smallest attempt brings those dreams into reality, piece by piece, layer by layer. The irony is that in chasing perfection, we often prevent ourselves from reaching excellence, because true excellence is born of practice, repetition, and the willingness to stumble in public without giving up. Those who achieve meaningful growth rarely began with flawless steps. They began with shaky, unpolished efforts that grew stronger with time. Imperfect action may not look impressive in the moment, but over time it compounds into skill, confidence, and breakthroughs that perfect intention can never produce. By allowing ourselves to act imperfectly, we grant ourselves permission to be human, to learn, and to move. And in that movement, we find progress, momentum, and purpose that perfection could never deliver. The cost of inaction is greater because while doing something may expose us to failure, criticism, or discomfort, doing nothing silently robs us of opportunities, growth, and experiences that could have transformed who we are. And often it is not the mistakes we make that haunt us the most, but the chances we never took. Inaction feels safe in the moment, a way to shield ourselves from uncertainty or risk. Yet it slowly builds the heavy weight of regret, the lingering question of what could have been if we had only dared to try. Action, even when it leads to failure, offers us lessons, resilience, and the chance to recalibrate our path, while inaction offers nothing but the stagnation of staying exactly where we are. Every decision we postpone is a decision to remain unchanged, and while time passes anyway, our lives remain stuck in the same patterns, the same routines, the same unfulfilled dreams, until we find ourselves wondering why we feel trapped. When we take action, we open the door to being shaped and transformed by the process, because every step forward, even if imperfect, stretches us beyond the limits we once believed were fixed. Doing allows us to test our strength, discover new perspectives, and uncover capacities that we never would have known existed had we stayed still. Inaction, on the other hand, feeds fear because the longer we avoid action, the larger the fear grows, convincing us that we are not capable, not ready, not enough. But the truth is, nothing diminishes fear like action itself, because the moment we do, fear loses its grip, and we begin to see ourselves as capable of navigating the unknown. The cost of inaction is not just missed opportunities. It is missed growth, missed resilience, missed moments that could have shaped the course of our lives. Action does not guarantee success, but it guarantees movement, and movement is what keeps us alive, evolving, and aligned with our potential. When we look back, the regrets that echo are not the times we tried and stumbled, but the times we chose silence over expression, hesitation over courage, and comfort over possibility. To act is to give ourselves the gift of experience, of shaping our lives through choices rather than letting life pass us by. And even when our actions bring failure, they still carry the seeds of wisdom, strength, and transformation. Inaction, by contrast, leaves us unchanged but unfulfilled, alive but not truly living, safe but never soaring. And its cost is a life filled with unanswered questions about who we could have been if we had only chosen to do. Doing reveals who we are because identity is not formed in the quiet corners of thought alone, but in the choices we make, the risks we take, and the actions we commit to when faced with uncertainty. And while reflection has its place, it is through practice and movement that our true strength begins to emerge. We may spend years imagining how brave, resilient, or capable we might be, but it is only when we step into action that these qualities come alive, showing us not just what we hope to be, but what we actually are. Strength is not an idea we hold in our minds. It is a muscle that grows only when used, tested, and sometimes stretched to its limits. And without the act of doing, it remains dormant, a possibility rather than a reality. Each time we put ourselves into motion, whether by starting something new, facing a fear, or persisting in the face of struggle, we peel back another layer of ourselves and discover capacities that thinking alone could never reveal. Action is like a mirror, reflecting back to us not the imagined version of who we want to be, but the authentic proof of who we are becoming through our choices. The process is rarely neat or perfect, often messy and uncertain, but within that mess we uncover resilience, creativity, and courage that surprise us, reminding us that growth is not tidy, it is transformative. By doing, we give ourselves the chance to evolve, because each step we take reshapes our understanding of what we can endure, what we can achieve, and what truly matters to us. Thinking can spark vision, but it cannot carry us into the experience that transforms vision into reality, and so much of who we are is only revealed in the practice of trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. Every act of doing tells a story about our character, about our willingness to step into vulnerability, to embrace imperfection, and to face challenges that could easily deter us. And through those stories, we learn that identity is not fixed, it is built. If we wait for certainty before acting, we never discover the depth of our own capacity. But if we choose to act, even without guarantees, we meet ourselves in new and surprising ways. Doing is not just about accomplishing tasks, it is about becoming, because in every attempt we stretch beyond the limits of who we were yesterday and grow closer to the person we are capable of being. The revelation of our strength, our courage, and our resilience lies not in imagining how we would act, but in the reality of how we do act when given the chance. And it is only through doing that the truth of who we are fully comes alive. Action is vulnerability in motion, because the very moment we choose to step forward, we expose ourselves to the unpredictable, to outcomes we cannot control, and to the eyes of others who may judge, misunderstand, or dismiss us. Yet within that exposure lies the essence of growth and transformation. To act is to take the risk of being seen, not just in our polished strengths, but in our fragile uncertainties, and it is in this space of risk that courage finds its true meaning. We often long for certainty before we begin, hoping for reassurance that we will succeed, but action never comes with guarantees. It comes with the raw reality that failure is possible, that mistakes are inevitable, and that the journey may be harder than imagined, yet it is precisely this vulnerability that allows us to expand into a fuller, braver version of ourselves. Vulnerability in motion means doing something without knowing if we will be enough, and still choosing to try, because the act of showing up is itself an act of strength. Every step we take into the unknown reveals our willingness to trust that we can navigate setbacks, adapt when things fall apart, and rise again when failure tries to hold us down. The paradox is that while action exposes us to failure, it also makes success possible, because without the willingness to risk being vulnerable, we never give ourselves the chance to reach beyond what is familiar. Vulnerability in motion is not weakness but evidence of deep courage, because it means we value growth more than safety, discovery more than comfort, and truth more than appearances. Action strips away the illusion of control and replaces it with presence, with the lived experience of trying, stumbling, learning, and rising. And it is in that process that we become stronger and more resilient. By acting, we step into a space where we can no longer hide behind preparation or intention, where who we are is revealed not in words, but in choices. And that exposure is what builds authenticity. To act is to accept that people may see our flaws, that failure may greet us along the way, but also that possibility will open in ways we could never have imagined while standing still. Vulnerability in motion teaches us that the cost of doing nothing is far greater than the cost of being seen in our imperfection, because through action we gain experience, connection, and the chance to create meaning from our lives. Every time we dare to act despite the risk, we practice bravery, we strengthen our voice, and we claim our right to participate fully in life. And while it is never easy, it is always worth it, because action is the bridge between who we are now and who we are capable of becoming. This moment matters because life is not waiting for us to feel ready. Circumstances will never align into flawless conditions, and the illusion of a perfect time only delays the possibilities that exist right here, right now, in the present that is already in our hands. We often convince ourselves that tomorrow will be easier, that next week will bring more clarity, or that someday we will finally have the confidence, the resources, or the certainty to act. But those somedays rarely arrive in the way we imagine, and in the meantime, time itself moves forward, carrying with it opportunities that quietly slip away while we wait. The truth is that the only time we ever fully possess is the present, and when we choose to act in this moment, imperfect as it may be, we step into the power of shaping our lives instead of leaving them to chance. Now is messy, now is uncertain, now is often filled with doubts and unfinished edges, but it is also alive, it is real, and it is capable of carrying us into transformation if we dare to embrace it. The stories of change, of breakthroughs, of lives altered forever, rarely begin with someone who felt completely prepared. They begin with someone who looked at the moment in front of them and decided it was enough to begin. This moment matters because it is the only place where action can exist, the only place where words can turn into movement, and the only place where intentions can take root and become reality. Waiting for the perfect time is like chasing a horizon. It keeps moving as we move, always just out of reach, while now is steady, tangible, and available to us if we are willing to claim it. Every time we postpone action, we trade a living possibility for a fragile promise of later. But when we choose now, we allow ourselves to participate fully in the unfolding of our own lives. This moment matters because it asks us to stop rehearsing and start living, to stop wondering and start experiencing, to stop waiting for signs and recognize that the sign is the very breath we are taking in this instant. The urgency of now is not about rushing or forcing, but about realizing that the present is fertile ground where growth begins, and the longer we wait, the more we risk losing the chance to discover what could have been. By stepping into this moment, we give ourselves permission to create, to try, to stumble, to learn, and to rise, and in doing so, we make this moment matter even more. The truth is that life does not happen in a perfect someday. It happens in the imperfect, unpredictable, unrepeatable now, and by honoring that, we not only move forward, but we also discover the richness of what it means to truly live.